Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 23rd, 2025. And we've got some bullishness going on here today. There is a trade deal that was announced with Japan, and we are moving sharply higher here this morning in a nice gap up on that news, and apparently they are now on to try and get the deal finished with Europe. So good news. If we take a look at what we've got going on here overnight, first off, we had Asian markets higher across the board, really kind of celebrating in there. Japan zooming higher, $1,396 higher, or 3.51% on that news last night. We saw Australia higher by over 60 points at 0.69%. India was higher, 159 points, 0.63%. Hong Kong higher by 408 points, 1.62%. And Shanghai higher by 44 cents, or 0.01%. If we were to take a look at European markets this morning, European markets also bullish across the board. We have the DAX up 175.83. That's 0.73%. The FTSE is higher at 54.36, or 0.60% higher. And the CAC is up by 1.31%. So bullishness everywhere. And then if we look at the futures market here for the U.S., Dow futures looking for a gap up open right now. Dow futures up 230 points. We've got S&P 500 futures up 25.75, and NASDAQ futures up $50.50 this morning as we head into big tech reports this afternoon. So everything seems to be coming up roses here at the moment. Let's take a look at our bond prices here. Bond prices this morning also going a little bit higher. We've got the 30-year bond pushing up to 4.94%, 10-year bonds coming in at 4.37%, and the 2-year bond coming in at 3.84% this morning. Now, that's having an interesting effect here, at least at the moment. The dollar is still lower on the day. Actually, that just changed. The dollar is now up a penny and a half. So trying to get a little bit of green there into the dollar, and that possibility, I want everyone to pay attention and hear on that dollar, that possibility that we could still create an inverted head and shoulders pattern in here on the US dollar and see that dollar start to strengthen up. If we can get a little bit of bullishness coming into there, that's something that we would want to be watching for. Now, that being said, with that going on, and we take a look at those precious metals here this morning, gold at the moment, after really zooming the last couple of days, is easing off just a tiny little bit here. Right at this moment, down $8.70 an ounce, $3,435 an ounce. However, we've got silver continuing to show bullishness here this morning. We've got silver futures up 19.5 cents at $39.75 an ounce. How many of you think we're going to see $40 silver here before too long here in those futures? Looks like a possibility to me. If we take a look at other precious metals in here, we've got copper still trying to work its way to the upside. Right now, copper futures are up a little over 10 cents here this morning. COPX is a little bit of a pop and drop here so far, but bullish on the day. We've got Freeport also moving up here this morning, really showing some strength on this trade deal this morning. We've got platinum. Platinum trying to work just a tiny little bit higher. Platinum futures up at the moment $1.90 an ounce, and we've got palladium also working higher by $10.10 an ounce here this morning. So keep an eye on those. Now, if we were to take a look at oil this morning, oil is still a little bit lower. We've got XLE trying to push up here. We had a good bounce in XLE yesterday, trying to push back up and see if we can get a hold of this support area in those oil prices. Right now, we've got oil at, let's see, it's down 50 cents at 64.80 a barrel. Brent crude is coming in at 68.19 a barrel. And that natural gas, natural gas still showing weakness here this morning. Down not quite a penny and a half. We're coming close to coming back down here in these recent lows, so watch that carefully. Let's take a look at cryptos here this morning. Some bearishness in cryptos here today. If we take a look at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin at the moment down $1,143 a coin, pulling back from that really strong move yesterday. Still in a very bullish pattern, as you can see here in IBAT. That is a very bullish potential pattern and setup with this support level right in here. I would look for that next opportunity to that push on through to the upside. Ether pulling back just a little bit this morning as well, down $21.35 a coin. That's only 0.58 on Ether and 0.94% on Bitcoin, but we are red across the board on those cryptos here this morning. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday, the hump day edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we would want them to be. Really trying to shake off that bias here in the market. Well, I got to tell you, when we take a look at the diamonds here, we're still quite extended from our moving averages. At the same time, this is extremely bullish chart and a very good rest here in this consolidation in the chart. So the only thing I can do is look at the diamonds here with considerable bullishness. And yesterday's move in here, that nice little pop up here that took a while to get going yesterday, but we finally started to pick back up, pushing up here to this recent area of resistance in the chart. And I think with the bullishness that we have going here this morning, there is a very reasonable opportunity that this could push right on through and maybe stretch up toward this next resistance area, which is the all-time high here in the diamonds. So trade deals happening, big tech reports, there is certainly that possibility that we could push up there and start looking for the diamonds to maybe contact or test all-time highs here in the Dow. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, And that's still possible because anytime we have big tech reports, and there's such an attention to these big tech reports, that we could stumble a little bit on some of those reports. Just like we did in Netflix, where Netflix beat on the top and bottom line, but it just wasn't enough to support the current price of the stock, and we started selling off. So if that were the case and we were to see some bearishness coming in, I'm going to look for first a little tiny bit of support right through here to hold. And if that were to fail, I would say right back down here to retest these areas in that area. Of course, below that is where some real fear would come into play. And I wouldn't rule out that possibility if we get some ugly, happen to get some ugly reports. So just be prepared, stay with the upside trend, but have a plan to protect yourself if we start to come back down. Now our SPY, also extremely bullish chart, continuing to stretch to the upside, only blue sky up there. And as we saw yesterday, we had a new record high close in the SPY, continuing to pump a big tech higher here. And as you can see, if the bears were to have anything to say, well, maybe a pushback into here, which wouldn't be all that big a deal. Sorry, my drawing tools decided to change automatically there. We would push back into this area, and then beyond that, I think maybe coming back down into some of this area price support could be possible. Beyond that's where we'd have a little bit of fear coming into play. Once again, if you look at our major moving averages, we're still very, very elevated and stretched here in the market, but we're kind of celebrating here this morning. If we get any news of some kind of a problem in any of these tech reports, that could be the catalyst for selling. If we take a look at QQQ, same thing here, very stretched away from our moving averages, but there's nothing in that chart that says the bears even exist here at the moment. As we continue to stretch to the upside, we had a pretty good sell-off there yesterday in the QQQ, but we pushed this back up pretty strongly. So if those bulls can find additional inspiration here today, I think there's every reason to believe that we could push on out of this and close at a new record high today. It looks very possible. I don't see anything that would suggest in this price action anything other than that. Now, if the bears happen to react to something negatively here in the market, first step, I think, catch a little bit of price support in there, breaking down below there. Well, then I think we have that possibility that we push on back and retest yesterday's low. And beyond that, I think we would really raise some fear in the QQQ, and it really will be likely some tech uncertainty that does that to us if that were to occur. If we take a look at IWM, the Russell also having a good bounce back yesterday. Bullish engulfing candle in here yesterday, pushing on through to the upside. You can see this morning it looks like we're going to break out of this recent resistance high here at the open in IWM. And that next target I've got up here, see this resistance right through here across those tops? That would be my next target up there to test that area of resistance in the chart. I would call this a resumption of the upside trend. We made that higher low in here and the resumption of the upside trend. So very, very bullish pattern as well here on the Russell. Taking a look at the VIX, we had the VIX push up yesterday on that early selling in the day, pushed us right up here into that resistance of the chart that I'd mentioned yesterday, is where we would watch, and then just pushed right back down. Those bulls took over. We just pressed this right back down. We didn't break back down below this little area of price support, but I'm guessing with the gap up here this morning, we're going to break this on down, and we'll be back down here testing this area of the chart pretty easily, and maybe even breaking below that, unless we end up reversing here today on some kind of bad news in the market. Now let's take a look at our T2122. Our T2122, this could be a little bit of a hang up for us. We were pushing this yesterday back up here toward the bearish reversal zone, and this morning we're gapping up huge on news. So my guess is we will be well within the bearish reversal zone. In fact, we may come close to pinning ourselves up here again at the high point of the market. So watch that carefully. We have been up here for a long time, showing us just how extended we are in the market. But if the bears were to have anything to say, then we also know we've got a pretty good downside opportunity. Right now, I don't see that happening, and with all of the enthusiasm and attention on big tech reports, at least that should hold up into the midday. It'd be after maybe midday we might start seeing a little bit of caution coming into the market, thinking about what might occur with those big tech reports. If we take a look at T2108, T2108 also having a good day yesterday, stretching up through this recent high point here, pushing on up, and now we're pushing up toward that 65 area here of the chart, up into some of that resistance, breaking through there, and I think there's a chance we could break through there first thing here this morning, push right back up here toward the 70% of the stocks back above their 40-day moving average. You will want to remember, anytime we get up in that area between 70 and 80, we're in that extremely frothy zone, and there's quite a few stories about that as well, about how we're reaching that frothy zone here. In fact, there was a story on CNBC yesterday just making the case that of the 7 big tech giants, they now make up a full 30% of the market cap weight of the S&P 500. 7 companies making up 30% of the S&P 500. That's getting pretty carried away here. They also mentioned that combine those 7 companies together, and their market cap is bigger than all other countries in the world except the U.S. Think about that. That is remarkable, and there's a worry about we're getting way too centric into tech. So just kind of keep that in mind. If we happen to falter here, it may be some of that concern that maybe we've just gotten a little carried away. If we take a look at T2107, T2107 also pushing up here. We almost broke out of this recent high here above 40. Well, we are above 45, but tried to break through this resistance right here in the chart. You can see right over through this area. So watch that carefully. The gap up here this morning, I'm guessing we're going to gap up plus 50% of the stocks above their 200-day. You can see we've got resistance in that area of the chart. And then, of course, beyond that, up around that 55 area, we're going to run into just a real significant congestion zone in that chart. So, again, watch that carefully. If we kind of get carried away here and we get some bad news, we could see that pullback occur in the market. T2101, good news here on that pushback up yesterday. We saw a little bit of breadth increasing here in the market yesterday. So watch that carefully. If that can carry through today on this bullishness, then that's going to help us out a lot, seeing a little bit of that breadth supporting price action, meaning that we're getting more participation in that upside move. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. In our economic calendar, we do have a bit to think about here this morning. First off, we're going to get mortgage applications here this morning. Keep an eye on that. We're going to get existing home sales coming in here. The consensus is suggesting a little bit of decline there in that consensus, down to 4 million from 4.03. I don't think the market's probably going to react too much to that unless it misses on that number. We've got Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations also at 10. We've got the last time we were at 2.4%, so keep an eye on that this morning. We've got petroleum status here this morning. Petroleum, we had those crude inventories really declined on the last report here, so watch that carefully. If that continues, that may actually support those oil prices and maybe pick things up here a little bit. Watch that carefully. A couple of bond auctions, 4-month and the 20-year, of course, will be the most notable for the day. Now, looking into Thursday, we're going to ramp up on a little bit more data in here. We've got jobless claims, Chicago National Fed activity. We've got a PMI composite flash. We've got a new home sales, natural gas report, bond auctions as usual, and a Fed balance sheet here at the end of the day. Oh, I skipped right past there, the Kansas City Fed manufacturing number on Thursday morning. When it comes to earnings, well, my goodness, we have a busy earnings day today. We're really ramping those earnings up. There's no way that I can cover all of these this morning. So if you guys could pause the video, take a screenshot of these earnings this morning, that would be very helpful. It's going to be a busy day, and remember, this afternoon, the most notables here, Google, IBM, and Tesla, will be reporting after the bell, so expect some volatility. It could be both bullish or bearish. Everyone is leaning bullish. Keep in mind, we also have some of those big guys out there like Chipotle in here reporting. So it's going to be a busy afternoon. This morning, let's take a look at a couple of these in here. I don't have much time to go over all of them, but APH trying to push higher here this morning. We've got AT&T moving lower here this morning. So keep an eye on that. And that's something I hold, which I am hedged on it. I'm not worried about it, but and that is pushing back here today. We've got FCX again, Freeport in that copper area. Could be an interesting report here today. Keep an eye on that. General Dynamics, a little pop and drop in there so far, but holding just a little bit bullish, so watch that carefully. We've got LH reporting. No report on that yet. Nothing going on there. We've got Coop. Coop has been running hard to the upside, maybe catching a little bit of rest here today. TDY, UCB. So there's a few of those stocks reporting this morning. Of course, there's a lot more of those that are reporting in here as well. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free to click that subscribe button, and then also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And for those of you that find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you can continue to do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow probably as much as anything nowadays. And thank you so much for everyone who does do that. I know it's a pain. It gets monotonous on a day-to-day basis, but please understand it does take an awful lot of effort to get these videos out every single morning before the market opens. So thank you so much for everyone who supports that effort. It does mean a lot to me. Let's take a look at what we have going on in some of these stocks that could be setting up. But remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market, remembering that we are pretty elevated away from moving averages. So stay with the upside trend, but remember to have a plan to protect yourself in case we start to move south, because I get the feeling as we continue to stretch up, it reminds me an awful lot of these big bubbles that we've blown in the past where everyone thinks the market can never go down, and that's usually when it can really hurt. It can sting hard when the pullback comes in the market. And we know it will happen. We just don't know when it will start. So make sure you have a plan to protect yourself. Let's take a look at some of these in here. I placed an alert on WB yesterday. Really beautiful resting consolidation pattern in there. Looks like we're going to gap up and pop out of that here this morning. Keep an eye on that. Doesn't report until 8:28, so plenty of time in there on WB for that to move on higher. GE, take a look at GE. Nice little pullback opportunity in here. That's where we get that little resting pullback in here. We find some support. We find trend. Look for that next opportunity. That bullishness in the market may just take that thing right on higher here. Worth keeping an eye on for sure, I think, in GE. Keep an eye on some of these big industrials out there. Boeing, nice little resting consolidation. Yeah, we kind of slipped past trend here a little bit, just like we did over here. We slipped past that trend and that nice little resting pattern and then continued on higher. So keep an eye on Boeing. You do have to worry about this. It reports next Tuesday, 7/29. So kind of keep that in mind. Caterpillar also looking very, very good. Going to report on 8.5, but beautiful consolidating pattern here, and that opportunity that may push right on higher here in the market. I think that's worth paying pretty close attention to. Looking pretty good. Let's take a look at BTU here this morning. BTU, I took some profits on BTU, continue to hold some of the position here, and that is continuing that stretch here to the upside today. So on that alert in here, guys, the reason I'm showing you this is not to brag about the position at all. It's just showing you that resting consolidation in here above support out toward trend. That produces these beautiful patterns here that are low risk entry into the trades, and they just repeat themselves over and over and over in the market. I teach this every day in Right Way Options on how to take advantage of moves like that and how to find those moves. And if you have any interest, you could come on over. We do have a trial going on in Right Way Options where you can become a trial member for 30 days, and it's only going to cost you $7. So can't even go buy a meal at McDonald's anymore for that. So a full 30 days, come on over and take a look. We've been making some really good profits on these moves here lately. So really nice potential. Take a look at Ball. There's another one of those patterns right there that finally triggered yesterday. Nice pop into that trade. Really stretching up here. Ball looking very, very good. I've been keeping an eye on Mickey D's here, and although Mickey D's has been struggling just a little bit against this trend, well, notice right in there yesterday, nice bullish engulfing candle. If we can get a little bit of follow through here, I've placed an alert up in here to notify me if we pop up, and then we might just stretch right up and Mickey D's up to that next area of resistance in the chart. Keep an eye on Pinterest. There's another one that we had to wait for that trade to come into play, and it finally took off. Popped right up in here to that next resistance area of the chart. Look for a little rest or consolidation in there. But with the bullishness of the market, I see that potential that we could just pop right on through. So watch that carefully in Pinterest. That is looking good as well. If we take a look at Starbucks was one of my disappointments in here. I popped into this alert and then it just kept fading back. Boy, we got a nice move in this yesterday. Nice profit in the trade. Now, my purpose of this trade was for a longer term hold, which means I will be managing this by this weekly chart. And you can see that nice little resting consolidation pattern works just as well on the weekly. And then we're pushing on up here today, looking for some profits there in Starbucks. That's looking pretty good overall. Take a look at Qualcomm. Now, Qualcomm breaking higher here. We broke this price support and now we're recovering it. Anytime we break a price support, we lose an upside trend. I require that the stock rallies and then proves to hold. We break back through and we create that higher low. That creates that next opportunity in that chart. Just like right in here, break down, finally crossed up and held. There's the alert, winning trade. And we repeat those patterns over and over and over, and they are extremely productive. Take a look at GLW, Corning, doing the same thing here again, just where we rested and popped through. This hasn't been a real fast mover in here at all, but still showing lots of bullishness in here. I think an alert right in there could set up for that next opportunity to the upside. Again, reporting on 729, so make sure you're careful that you're not chasing too many of those stocks that are already getting really close to those earnings reports. But take a look at WDC. WDC just continues in this beautiful move. Initial alert was right in there. By the way, there's that pattern again, and this just keeps running, just running. And I think there's every reason to believe that could push on higher. Goldman Sachs is setting up one of those potential patterns. Nice little resting consolidation coming back to trend in here. Look, obviously we've broken above resistance here. Look for that next opportunity for that, maybe to push on through to the upside. Microsoft, same kind of pattern. Very bullish here, resting back. Look for that next opportunity for that to potentially push on through to the upside. And there's a lot of those out there right now. AMD, another beautiful resting consolidation. Look for that next opportunity there in AMD to push on through to the upside. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here today and participating in the channel. I really appreciate it. And I will see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Right ways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.